Hello, everyone. In the heart of a sun-scorched landscape, under a sky of relentless blue, a story was told that would echo through millennia. It is a story you think you know. It features a father and two sons. One son chose rebellion, the other, duty. One journeyed to a distant country, chasing fleeting pleasures until he hit rock bottom. The other remained, tilling the fields, his hands calloused. The world has forever called this the parable of the prodigal son, focusing on the wanderer who returned. But that is a misreading of the map. The true mystery, the deeper, more unsettling story, lies with the son who never left. The one we call the good son. Today, we journey into the shadows of this ancient tale to uncover a terrifying truth. The son who stayed home was, in fact, the one who was he was a prisoner in the very home he claimed to serve, and his prison was built brick by brick with his own virtue. Imagine a household humming with the rhythms of prosperity, fields of wheat, gold under the sun, olive groves, their leaves shimmering like silver coins. The patriarch of this land is a man whose wealth is surpassed only by the depth of his heart. He has two sons, two halves of his life. The younger, let's call him Elian, is a whirlwind of passion and impatience. His eyes hold a restless fire, a hunger for a world beyond the familiar horizon of his father's estate. He feels the weight of his family's name not as a foundation, but as a cage. Life for him is a song waiting to be sung, and he cannot hear the music in the rustle of the barley or the lowing of the cattle. He sees his father's world as a Then there is the elder son. We shall call him Caleb. Caleb is the bedrock. He is the shadow that falls in the same place every morning. His hands know the feel of the plow, the weight of a seed sack, the rhythm of the harvest. He is the architect of the estate's continued success. Duty is his language, responsibility is his creed. When his father looks at him, he sees a perfect reflection of his own diligence. But every sunrise he greets with a sense of obligation, not joy. Every task completed is not an act of love, but another entry in a silent ledger he keeps in his soul. He watches his younger brother Elian with a mixture of contempt and a secret, gnawing envy. He scorns Elian's irresponsibility, yet he resents his freedom. Caleb is a man who does everything right for all the wrong reasons. His life as the air in the home has been thick with unspoken words for years. It's a tension that crackles in the silence at the dinner table. One day the silence breaks. Elian, with a resolution that is both terrifying and liberating, stands before his father. He does not ask for a blessing. He does not ask for guidance. He asks for his inheritance. Now in that culture this was not a simple financial request. It was tantamount to saying, "Father, I wish you were dead. I want what is mine, and I want to be free of you." It was the ultimate act of severing, a declaration that the relationship was over. Imagine the stillness in that room. The father's breath catches, his eyes, which have seen decades of sunrises, cloud with a pain that is ancient and sharp. He sees not an arrogant boy, but a lost child desperate to find. Caleb stands in the corner of the room, a statue carved from judgment. His face is a mask of stone, but inside, a volcano of rage is stirring. He sees his brother's demand as the ultimate confirmation of everything he has always believed, that Elian is worthless, a parasite, a fool. But there is something else, too, a flicker of satisfaction. This act of blatant disrespect validates Caleb's own. It makes his own sacrifices seem grander, his own loyalty more profound. He says nothing. His silence is his condemnation, a wall he builds between himself and his brother, and unknowingly between himself and his father. The father, in an act of staggering, heartbreaking love, agrees. He calls for his stewards. The land is divided, the assets liquidated. The sound of counting coins is. Elian takes his purse, heavy with silver and the weight of his decision, and turns his back on the only home he has ever known. He doesn't look back. The father watches until his son is a mere speck on the horizon, a silhouette swallowed by the promise of a distant land. Caleb watches too, and when his brother is gone, he turns, his jaw set, and walks back to the fields. The work is waiting. The ledger must be. The world unfolds before him like a rich tapestry, and he plunges into it with the reckless abandon of a man who believes his resources are as infinite as his desires. The silver coins that represented years of his father's labor now flow like water, buying him everything he ever dreamed of. He surrounds himself with an entourage of new friends, faces that shine with admiration as long as the wine is flowing. Their laughter is the music he longed for, a stark contrast to the quiet, dutiful hum of his father's house. He mistakes their flattery for affection, their presence for loyalty. For a time he is a king in a kingdom of his own making, a world free from obligation, free from the judgmental gaze of his older brother, free from the quiet sorrow in his father's eyes. He chases every sensation. He is celebrated in the finest establishments, his name whispered with a mixture of awe and envy. He believes he has finally found his identity. He is not just the son of a wealthy landowner, he is a man of the world, a master of his own destiny. He has traded his birthright for a feast of the senses, and for a while it feels like the best deal he has ever made. The memory of home becomes a distant, faded photo. The sun shines brighter here, the wine tastes sweeter, the nights are filled with a dizzying array of pleasures that numb the quiet ache of a soul unmoored. But seasons change. The far country is not immune to the harsh realities of the world. A famine descends upon the land, silent and suffocating. The crops wither in the fields, the markets empty, and the vibrant city that once pulsed with life grows gaunt and quiet. Elion's silver, which once seemed like a boundless ocean, has dwindled to a few remaining drops. The river of wine runs dry, the feast is over, and one by one his friends, his admirers, the echoes of his manufactured kingdom, vanish like ghosts at dawn. The laughter that once filled his ears is replaced by the hollow sound of his own stomach rumbling. The man who wanted to be a king finds himself a beggar in a land that has nothing left to give. Desperation is a cold and lonely companion. The hunger is no longer a dull ache. It is a predator tearing at him from the inside. He who once feasted on the finest foods now searches for any work that will keep him from starving. The only position he can find is the most degrading, the most ritually unclean job imaginable for a Jewish man. He spends his days in the mud and the filth, surrounded by animals considered impure, his fine clothes now tattered rags that offer little protection from the elements. The stench of the sty clings to him, a constant reminder of how far he has fallen. The hunger becomes so all-consuming that he finds himself staring at the carob pods the pigs are eating, his mouth watering at the thought of their coarse, unsatisfying mash. It is here, in the lowest pit of his own making, that a single lucid thought pierces through the fog of his despair. It's a memory, not of the wealth, not of the power, but of the simple dignity of his father's house. He remembers the hired hands, the lowest of his father's servants. He pictures them at the end of a long day sitting down to a meal of bread and stew. They have more than enough, they have shelter, and a devastating realization washes over him. My father's servants live like kings compared to this. What am I doing here dying of hunger? This is the moment the Bible calls coming to his senses. It is not a strategic calculation. It is a profound, soul-shattering moment of clarity. He finally sees the truth. His freedom was an illusion. His kingdom was built on sand. He realizes he has sinned not just against his father, but against heaven itself. He has desecrated his own soul, and in that moment of absolute brokenness, a flicker of hope ignites. He decides to go home. He crafts a speech in his mind, rehearsing the words over and over. Father, I have sinned against heaven and against you. I am no longer worthy to be called your son. Just make me like one of your hired servants. He wants to be a slave in the house where he was once a son. And so, with his feet bare and his spirit crushed, he begins the long, agonizing journey home, while Elian carves a path of self-destruction and eventual awakening. His brother Caleb is on a very different journey. His is not a journey across physical landscapes, but through the treacherous, unmapped territory of the human heart. He stays home. Every day he rises before the sun, his mind already calculating yields, managing servants, and ensuring the continued prosperity of the estate. The land that his brother abandoned, Caleb nurtures with a grim determination. He feels the weight of responsibility double, and he carries it with a stoic pride. To the community, he is a pillar of strength. They see a son who honored his father, a man of They contrast his unwavering loyalty with his brother's scandalous flight, and they praise him for it. Caleb hears their praise, and it becomes the mortar for the fortress he is building around his heart. Each compliment, each admiring glance, is another brick in the wall of his self-righteousness. He is the good son. He is the dependable one. He is the one who deserves everything his brother threw away. But inside that fortress, a corrosive resentment is taking root and spreading like a poison vine. His work is no longer an act of partnership with his father, it is a transaction. Every bead of sweat is a payment. Every long hour is an investment for which he expects a return. He keeps a meticulous account in his soul. I did this, I sacrificed that. I never disobeyed. His relationship with his father shifts from he is an employee, the best employee, and he is waiting to be paid. The joy of the work is gone, replaced by the grim satisfaction of a duty fulfilled. He looks out at the fields, not with a sense of belonging, but with a sense of ownership earned through labor. He sees the servants and feels a cold superiority. He sees his father, and while he shows him respect, the warmth is gone. It has been replaced by the quiet, simmering anger of a man who feels perpetually short-changed. He rarely speaks of Elian, but his brother is a constant presence in his mind. Every hardship Caleb endures, he mentally lays at Elian's feet. Every success he achieves, he sees as a vindication of his own superior character. He imagines his brother squandering their family's legacy in some den of iniquity, and a dark satisfaction. He needs his brother to fail, because Elian's failure is the ultimate proof of Caleb's own worth. He is living in a far country of his own, a desolate landscape of bitterness and comparison, and it is located right in the heart of his father's home. His father, a man of deep perception, senses the growing chill in his older son. He sees the hardness in his eyes, the rigid set of his jaw. He tries to reach him, but Caleb deflects these attempts with discussions of business. His heart is a locked room, and he has thrown away the key. He has become a slave to his own goodness, a prisoner of the very virtues everyone praises. He has kept all the rules, but he has missed the entire point. He is physically present in his father's house, but his spirit has been wandering in a barren wilderness for years. He is starving for an affirmation. He believes he has everything, and yet he feels he has nothing. He is safe, he is prosperous, he is respected, and he is utterly, devastatingly lost. Now let us turn our gaze to the father. Day after day he has performed a ritual. He climbs to the highest point of his property, a small hill that overlooks the road leading back from the far country. He scans the horizon, his hand shielding his eyes from the glare of the sun. Waiting, the servants whisper among themselves. They see his quiet vigil, his unending grief. Caleb sees it too, and it irritates him. He sees it as a foolish obsession with the son who spat in their family's face. To Caleb, the father's hope is a waste of emotion, a testament to his weakness. For the father, it is an act of relentless, stubborn love. Then one afternoon, his vigil is rewarded. It's not the confident stride of his younger son as he left, but a slow, broken shuffle. The figure is bent, emaciated, little more than a scarecrow in rags. But a father knows his child. He knows him by the line of his shoulders, by the tilt of his head, even from a great distance. It is him. It is Elian. And in that instant, something extraordinary happens. The dignified patriarch, he does not wait for the son to crawl back and beg for forgiveness. He hitches up his robes, an act considered deeply undignified for an elder, and he runs. He runs down the hill, his feet kicking up dust, his heart pounding a rhythm of pure joy and relief. He runs toward the shame, toward the filth, toward the brokenness of his child. The son sees his father running toward him, and his heart seizes with fear and shame. He expects a blow, a cold dismissal. He braces himself for the rejection he so richly deserves. But instead of a fist, he feels arms wrapping around him. Strong, familiar arms that hold him tight, ignoring the stench of the pigsty, ignoring the rags, ignoring the disgrace. His father pulls him into an embrace, a hug that speaks of a love that was never withdrawn, and he kisses him. A kiss not of greeting, but of restoration, of unconditional acceptance. The son, overwhelmed, chokes out the beginning of his rehearsed speech. "Father, I have sinned against heaven and against you. I am no longer worthy to be called your son." But the father isn't listening to the words of unworthiness. He is already shouting to his servants. "Quick, bring the best robe and put it on him. Put a ring on his finger and sandals on his feet." Each of the best robe is not just clothing, it is the robe of honor. a symbol of his full restoration as a son, covering his filth and shame with the family's dignity. The ring is a signet ring, a mark of authority and belonging. It means the son is not just forgiven, but reinstated, with all the rights and privileges he threw away. The sandals are for sons, not slaves. Slaves went barefoot. With these three actions, the father demolishes the son's plan to return as a servant. He is not a servant. He is a son. He was dead, and is alive again. He was lost, and is found. And the father's joy cannot be contained. Bring the fattened calf and kill it, he commands. Let's have a feast and celebrate. The fattened calf was not for an ordinary meal. It was reserved for the most honored guest. The father is throwing a party that declares to the entire community, "My son has come home." The sound of music and dancing begins to echo from the house, a symphony of impossible grace and riotous joy. This is where most people believe the story finds its happy ending. But the true climax, the central conflict of the entire parable, is about to begin. It begins not in a distant land, but in the field right next to them. As the sun begins to set, casting long shadows across the land he has so diligently tended, he walks toward home. He is tired, his muscles ache, a familiar righteous fatigue. But as he gets closer, he hears something that doesn't belong. He hears music, laughter. The sounds of a great celebration. He stops, confused and suspicious. This is not the quiet, orderly home he runs. He sees a servant hurrying out. What is going on? The servant, his face beaming with excitement, replies, "Your brother has come, and your father has killed the fattened calf because he has him back safe and sound." The servant's words strike Caleb like a physical blow. A cold fire ignites in his gut and races through his veins. Your brother, safe and sound, the fattened calf. Every word is a twisting knife. He looks at the house, pulsating with light and music, a celebration for the failure, the disgrace, the traitor who has finally crawled back from the gutter, and he is overcome with a rage so pure and so powerful it eclipses everything else. He refuses to go inside. He stands outside in the growing darkness, a solitary figure of protest, shutting himself out of the circle of joy. The father, noticing his eldest son's the father's joy is incomplete without both his sons. So he leaves the party. He leaves the warmth and the light and the celebration, and goes out into the darkness to plead with his angry, righteous child. This is a crucial moment. The father, who ran to meet his broken younger son, now walks to entreat his bitter elder son. He finds Caleb standing there, rigid with fury, his arms. "Son," the father begins gently, "come and celebrate with us." And the dam of Caleb's resentment, built up over years of silent scorekeeping, finally bursts. He unleashes a torrent of accusation, not with the deference of a son, but with the indignation of an aggrieved employee presenting a list of grievances to his boss. "Look," he spits, his voice dripping with contempt. "All these years I've been slaving for you." Note his choice of word, slaving. Not serving, not working, not helping, slaving. He saw his life not as one of partnership and inheritance, but of bondage. "I never disobeyed your orders," he continues, framing his relationship in the cold, hard terms of a command structure. He is a soldier, a servant who has followed every rule to the letter. His obedience. "Yet," he says, his voice thick with self-pity, "you never once gave me even a young goat so I could celebrate with my friends." Here, the core of his bitterness is exposed. It is not about the goat, it is about the recognition, the reward. He feels his years of perfect performance have gone unnoticed and unrewarded. He saw joy and celebration as something to be earned, a bonus for good behavior, and he feels his payment is. He contrasts his own perceived deprivation with the lavish party being thrown for his brother. But when this son of yours comes, he can't even bring himself to say, "My brother." He distances himself, calling him "this son of yours," placing all the responsibility and connection on the father. "Who has squandered your property with prostitutes? You kill the fattened calf for him." The accusation is laced with venom and exaggeration. He doesn't know for a fact his brother was with prostitutes. He assumes the worst because it makes his own righteousness shine brighter. He has judged, convicted, and sentenced his brother in the court of his own mind. In this single, raw, unfiltered tirade, Caleb reveals the truth of his condition. He has been living in his father's house, but he has never felt like a son. He has seen his father not as a loving parent, but as a demanding task. He has viewed his inheritance not as a gift to be enjoyed, but as wages to be earned. He has been so focused on his own performance, on his own merit, on what he was owed, that he completely missed the nature of his father's heart. He was physically home, but spiritually he was in a far country, a land more desolate than any pigsty, a barren wasteland of pride, resentment, and transactional love. He doesn't dispute Caleb's record of service. He doesn't argue about the goat. He goes straight to the heart of the tragedy. He says, "My son," the Greek word here is teknon, a term of deep affection and endearment. It's a tender plea. "My son, you are always with me, and everything I have is yours." This single sentence is perhaps the most tragic in the entire story. It is the devastating reveal. You didn't need to earn a goat. The entire flock was already yours. You didn't need to wait for a special occasion. You could have thrown a party with your friends any day of the week. Everything I have, the land, the livestock, the home, my love, it has all been yours all this time. You've been living like a slave when you were the master's son. You have been starving at a banquet. Caleb had access to everything, but he couldn't enjoy it because he didn't believe it was. His focus on earning blinded him to the reality of what he already possessed. He was a millionaire living like a pauper, dying of thirst while standing in the middle of a river, because he didn't believe he had the right to drink. The father then tries to explain the nature of his joy, the logic of grace that Caleb cannot comprehend. But we had to celebrate and be glad, because this brother of yours was dead and is alive again, not this son of yours, but this brother of yours. He is trying to pull Caleb back into the family, to remind him of their bond. He explains that the celebration is not a reward for the younger son's behavior. It is a reaction to his return from death. It is the explosive joy of resurrection. The party isn't for the prodigal, it's for the father, whose heart can finally beat a little lighter. It is a celebration, and there the story ends abruptly. We are left standing outside in the darkness with Caleb. The music is still playing inside. The door is open. His father has pleaded with him. The choice is his. Will he lay down the heavy burden of his own righteousness? Will he let go of his ledger of grievances and finally accept his identity as a beloved son, not a deserving slave? Will he join the celebration of grace, or will he remain? He leaves the question hanging in the air, a profound and uncomfortable silence that forces us to look within ourselves. The tragedy of the older brother is that the door to the feast was never locked. He was the only one keeping himself out. While the younger son was lost in a far country, the older son was lost in his own heart, and that is a much harder place from which to find your way home. This ancient story is not just about two brothers in a distant. We follow the rules. We work hard. We try to be good people. We build our lives on a foundation of duty and responsibility, and yet we feel a quiet, gnawing emptiness, a resentment for those who seem to live more freely, who break the rules and somehow still seem to find grace. We become slaves to our own performance, believing that love, acceptance, and joy are things we must earn through our efforts. We can be sitting in the midst of abundance, surrounded by blessings, and yet feel spiritually impoverished because our hearts are trapped in a transactional mindset. We become Pharisees in our own homes, our own churches, our own communities, perfect on the outside, but with hearts that are cold and judgmental. We stand outside the party, refusing to enter because we don't believe the guest of honor is worthy, and in doing so, the story reveals a radical truth about the nature of God's love. It is not a wage to be earned. It is a gift to be received. The father's love was not contingent on the behavior of his sons. He loved the rebellious younger son in his disgrace, and he loved the bitter older son in his self-righteousness. His arms were open to both. The difference was that the younger son, in his absolute brokenness, knew he was empty-handed, and therefore ready to receive the gift. The older brother's hands were full. They were full of his own good works, his own sacrifices, his own sense of deserving. He could not receive the gift of grace because he was still trying to pay for it. Finding our way home, then, is not always about returning from a life of wild rebellion. Sometimes it's about taking the 10 steps from the field of dutiful labor into. It's about understanding that our worth is not measured by our performance, but is bestowed upon us by a love that is unconditional. It's about ceasing to be a slave to our own virtue and learning to live as a beloved child. The great irony is that the older brother, who thought he was so close to his father, was actually leagues away in his heart, and the younger brother who ran to the furthest country he could find, discovered in his brokenness the shortest path back to his father's arm. Are we in the pigsty, finally ready to admit our need and turn for home? Or are we standing in the field, fists clenched, resentful and angry, refusing to join a celebration we don't think is fair? The door is open, the music is playing, the Father is waiting. That is all for today's video. If you like this video, please subscribe, like it, and support us. Thank you for watching, and see you next time.